So a survey, Nerida, was conducted. It asked buyers and sellers how confident they were feeling when it comes to property. Why are Queenslanders so optimistic?
Well, it obviously might change with today's announcement, but I think it's a lot to do with the fact that Queenslanders have kept COVID cases down. I think the ability to move freely has changed a little bit from the recent announcement, but that does allow people to feel far more confident. I think too, it's a pretty nice place to be locked down. If you have a look at the locations that people are looking at in Queensland at the moment on realestate.com.au, we can see places like Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast really coming up a lot. So people obviously wanting to move to places that are really nice to be in. Also, a lot of outer suburban areas of Brisbane are coming up as well. So typically what we see in Queensland when we have a look at the most popular areas, they have tended to be inner suburban areas, places like Tenerife and Paddington. But now what we're seeing is more people looking in outer suburban areas, places with big homes, big blocks, beachside, quite a diverse range of locations.
And in terms of prices, have you seen anything unusual during the pandemic?
No, I mean, this is interesting. I mean, what we're hearing from the surveys that we're conducting is that Queenslanders are very confident at the moment, and they're feeling, and buyers and sellers are feeling really confident. But in terms of pricing, we're not really seeing anything particularly strong in Queensland as yet. Even in terms of views per listing on a statewide level, we're really not seeing the same types of positive search conditions. I mean, it's not negative, but it's certainly not as positive as what we're seeing in, say, somewhere like Canberra or also in Perth. But it's certainly interesting that, this is what people are telling us, that they are feeling confident. They're relatively optimistic about the future and quite unusual given that we are in the middle of a pandemic. But at this stage, it has been Queenslanders that have come out as being most positive.
I've been reading in your report, Nerida, the Australian rental market is starting to stabilise. The demand for rental units is particularly weak. What's the solution?
Yeah, look, it's interesting looking at rental data now. I mean, we are starting to get some good figures to see what's been happening since the COVID lockdown in mid-March, and the market is stabilising. We're not at the beginning of the pandemic. We did see quite a rapid rise in the number of rental listings coming to market. We were seeing a lot of short-term listings, Airbnb type listings converting to long-term, a lot of foreign students leaving, a lot of people becoming unemployed who are renters, are highly exposed to job loss. What does seem to be happening now is that the rental market is stabilising for houses, but when we have a look at what's happened in the unit market, we have seen this enormous pickup in the number of listings that have come on since the middle of March. Quite worryingly, half of that increase is actually concentrated in 10 suburbs. So you can see the suburbs up there. They're the ones where half of the new listings have come from since the pandemic began, and the areas that are very exposed to foreign students, are very exposed to young people. A lot of these suburbs do contain high proportions of young people. So for now, they are the ones that have been most impacted by loss of employment.
Yeah, very interesting. And half the increase in new apartment rental listings since mid-March, it reads, are in those 10 suburbs. So help is on its way.
Yeah, look, hopefully, one of the things that is positive is that in South Australia, they've just started up a trial program to bring some foreign students back from Singapore. So 300 will be arriving at the beginning of September. It will help, obviously, to a limited proportion in the Adelaide market. In Adelaide, the international education sector is worth $2 billion a year. So, if we don't get them back, it is a massive hit on economies like Adelaide, on Melbourne, Sydney, pretty much across the board. We do have a heavy reliance on foreign students, not just for the housing market, obviously the education sector, but it does flow through to tourism, retail trade and a wide variety of parts of the economy.
All right, Nerida Conisbee, always a pleasure to hear your advice and see you here on Weekend Edition. See you next week.
See you then.